Hello, everybody. Raw report for let's see, August 2nd, 2021. Why do people watch this show? They're brain dead and they don't know. My gosh, this is abysmal. And we're not even to football season yet. So Raw may be a dead brand within 2 or 3 years. I really truly believe that at this point. Anyway, Bobby Lashley and Goldberg kick off. Lashley and MVP make their way out to the ring. They start off the show. Fans give them a reaction and start booing. MVP welcomed Chicago back to Raw. And they erupt into cheers. MVP notes everyone wants to see Goldberg and chant his name. Fans boo that. So are they booing Goldberg or are they booing MVP? MVP recapped Goldberg returning and challenging Lashley for the title. Fans boo that. MVP praised Goldberg and note that he could beat any man on the roster. Goldberg didn't challenge any man, he challenged the Almighty. MVP noted Goldberg facing Lashley might be his final match. He asked if Bill wants to be remembered as a casualty. Fans finally start chanting for Goldberg. Goldberg does make his entrance and the fans cheer. Fans start booing once the music is over. So obviously they're just as bored with this, nearly quarter century year old act as everybody else. He Goldberg points out Lashley looks like he's scared. Fans chant for Goldberg at that. Goldberg asks Lashley if he's ready for a challenge. Fans break into a "We Want Wyatt" chant, which, with Bray Wyatt being released, that's not what they want to hear. Goldberg note his age doesn't matter because he'll always be Goldberg. He lives by the spear, and Lashley will die by it. Goldberg tells Lashley he's next at SummerSlam. Goldberg goes to the back, and MVP notes that Goldberg's son Gage is in the front row. Lashley jumps out and approaches the young man. MVP sends Lashley to the back into the ring but starts yelling at Gage. Goldberg runs back out and spears MVP. I guess this is fine. They show Drew McIntyre standing in the back with a giant sword. Drew McIntyre defeated Veer and Shanky with Jinder Mahal by DQ at 3:14. You have one of the biggest talents on your roster, and you don't even give him 4 minutes. Fans react to McIntyre, but the match drags even at 3.25 minutes. McIntyre does his entrance. And then Jimmy Smith note that the name of the sword is Angela after his late mother, which I guess is a cool touch. McIntyre is in control until the heels take over, send him shoulder first into the ring post. Fans chant Drew early. Fans break into a CM Punk chant. McIntyre fight back and hit neckbreaker on Veer. They send Shanky to the floor and set up the Claymore. Shanky grabs the leg and Mahal jumped in with the chair for disqualification. Post-match, all three heels grab chairs and face off with McIntyre. McIntyre then grabs the sword and fights off all three with the sword. Fans do cheer the sword. Sword may be the most over thing on Raw all night. Anyway, McIntyre knocks out Mahal with a chair. And then he takes out Veer with a glass cow kiss. McIntyre points the sword at Shanky, and Shanky is there in fear a little bit longer than he should have been. Anyway, Mahal and Veer and Shanky run to the back. Kevin Patrick tries to interview them as they run out of the building. Mahal promised Karma would get McIntyre. Nia Jax takes on Rhea Ripley next. Jax tells everyone to watch what she does to Rhea. Kevin Patrick interviews McIntyre. He's ready for Mahal and promised to beat him again. What a backward step for the guy that was such a big deal over the last year. Anyway, Rhea Ripley defeats Nia Jax in just after 8 minutes. Match is okay. Rough spots throughout. Fans do react well to Ripley. Jax gets busted wide open and is bleeding at one point in the match. Ripley has an early advantage and nails Jax with a headbutt, but Jax doesn't seem to care about this. Jax sends Ripley into the ring post, shoulder first, following up with a splash on the apron, and again sends her into the ring post. Ripley fights back and attempts the riptide. Jax breaks free, sends Ripley shoulder first into the ring post and goes for the splash. Ripley moves out of the way. Ripley cannonball off the apron, but Jax moves and she hits Baszler instead. Jax jumps Ripley and hits Samoan drops against the barricade. We go to break because we still don't know how to time matches. And Jax finally is in control. Ripley fights back, hits a rana off the second rope, follows with a missile drop kick near fall. Ripley then regains control and goes for the riptide. Baszler jumps up in the apron and tries to cause a distraction. Baszler jumped up on the apron, and Jax runs at Ripley. Ripley moves and rolls Jax up for the win. Roll up finishes. That's what people have been waiting a year and a half for. After the match, Jax and Baszler argue. Fans cheer. Baszler takes off her jacket. She jumps in the ring, and Ripley jumps back in the ring and hits the riptide on Jax for a decent reaction. They recap a match happening last week with Mustafa Ali and Mansoor defeating T-Bar and Mace. T-Bar and Mace defeat Mustafa Ali and Mansoor, so basically we just flip-flopped to finish. Because absolutely no one cares. 3 minutes, and Ali gets a decent reaction from his hometown fans. Fans go crazy, break into an Ali chant. His team lost in their hometown because we got to be cool like that. Anyway, Mace knocked down Ali off the apron immediately. The fans take over and isolate Mansoor. T-Bar knocked down Ali at ringside, hits a springboard elbow, gets a near fall. Ali gets tagged, goes nuts, hits a dive onto T-Bar at ringside, and T-Bar fights back, sends Ali back into the ring, boots him, and they all court T-Bar with a DDT near fall. Ali tags Mansoor, climbs to the top rope. T-Bar then sends Mansoor to the ropes, knocking down Ali. Mansoor gets second turnbuckle, and then Mace causes distraction. T-Bar pulls Mansoor off and hits turnbuckle on the way out for the win. After the match, heels jump Ali, give him a double choke slam to loud boos. Ali saves Mansoor, and they show Nikki Ash in the back getting ready for her match. Charlotte Flair's out next. Segment runs longer than it needs to. Basically, fans boo and woo at Flair. Flair mentions the female gymnast withdrawing from the Olympics due to mental health issues. She then ties that to Nikki Ash cashing in her Money in the Bank and winning the title. Flair notes she woke up the next morning and had a nervous breakdown. I don't think making fun of mental health is a good idea. Fans broke into a Becky chant. Flair notes she's not there. Flair then claimed that she sold out All State Arena, jumps in the ring and throws a kendo stick and a chair. Flair's furious that she lost the title and 3 times because of someone cashing in the briefcase. She rants about Nikki cashing in and promised to defeat her. Later, Nikki jumps into the ring, hits Flair with a chair. Nikki celebrates as Flair rolls out. They recap Eva Marie and Doudrop against Tamina and Natalya. Kevin Patrick interviews Eva Marie and Doudrop. Marie didn't want to talk about Natalya's injury and complained about Alexa Bliss instead. And absolutely no one cares. Tamina defeats Doudrop with Eva Marie, 347. Again, speaking of no one cares. Tamina and Doudrop have a passable match for TV standards these days, but absolutely nothing that's going to sell future tickets. Doudrop is briefly in control, but Tamina takes over quickly. She hits a splash into the corner and climbs to the top. Marie distracts Tamina. Doudrop takes over, hits an elbow off the second rope for near fall. CM Punk champs return here. Doudrop follows up with a series of near fall attempts. They trade shots in the middle of the ring. Tamina hits the back elbow in the corner. Tamina goes down, and Marie yells for Doudrop to hit the crossbody. Doudrop hesitates and then goes for the crossbody. Tamina moves and hits a Samoan drop for the win. Post-match, Alexa Bliss and Lily appear, and they make fun of Doudrop and Marie, and Bliss gets a mixed reaction They recap Damian Priest defeating Sheamus last week. All these recaps are because they don't know how to fill TV time with compelling content. In the back, Riddle approaches Damian Priest. Fans pop for Priest and erupt into cheers for Riddle. See, people actually care about Riddle, even if Vince doesn't. Riddle isn't worried about facing Orton, almost later, because he's got the power of Randy Orton pumping through his blood. Yes, he actually said this, as though Randy Orton is some sort of deity. Priest isn't worried about appearing on Miz TV since he beat them with Bad Bunny at WrestleMania, which virtually no one cares about or remembers. Anyway, Miz TV is a dragging segment. Fans are into Priest, but they seem bored with the Miz TV concept. Miz introduced Priest and notes that he couldn't hide his disdain for him. Miz notes that Priest put him in a wheelchair. We get another CM Punk chant. That's the third or fourth of the night. Priest questions Miz's injury and wonders if he's going to wrestle again. Miz blamed Priest for the injury, and he said he'd slap Priest if he wasn't injured. Priest notes that no kid wants to grow up to be either Miz or Morrison. Miz warned Priest that Morrison would take care of him. Priest said he's out here to challenge Sheamus, but instead he'll take on Morrison. Wow, he was easily cajoled into that one. Miz tries to use the dripstick, but Priest stops him. He throws Morrison out of the ring and soaks Miz with the dripstick, and this is just goofy. Damian Priest defeats Johnny Morrison just after 3 minutes. They had virtually not enough time to do much of anything. Morrison has an early advantage. Priest fights back. Priest hits strikes and takes over, climbs the top rope, but Miz dripsticks him for the advantage. Morrison then hits a Samoan drop over the ropes, Starship Pain, and then Priest countered, goes for choke slam. Morrison rolls him up for near fall, follows up with a running knee, then hits a standing moonsault for near fall. Morrison attempts a move off the second ropes, but Priest catches him. The finish comes when Priest hits chokeslam for the win. Post-match, Sheamus runs out and attacks, and the heels beat down Priest. Ricochet runs out to save, and there we go. Ricochet and Damian Priest defeat Sheamus and John Morrison because we don't have enough talent to actually fill out longer matches. Angle alert match is rushed because they don't even give him 4 minutes. Faces are in charge early. Ricochet goes nuts. Ricochet and Morrison end up fighting around ringside. Why are we brawling into the crowd when we have no actual angle? Sheamus slows the pace down. Ricochet fights back. Priest gets a hot tag, runs wild, hits chokeslam for near fall. Sheamus makes a save. Priest sends Sheamus to the floor. Ricochet hits a moonsault onto Sheamus. Morrison uses inside cradle for a close near fall. Priest recovers, hits the Reckoning for the win. Bobby Lashley accepts Goldberg's challenge and hopes he brings his son to SummerSlam. Gonna grab my phone, but that's probably going to be more entertaining for me than this review has been. So in any event, I mean, these things are just and to be fair, I got more out of that 3-minute phone call than I did out of 3 hours of Raw. So what does that tell you? Anyway, so, you know, I mean, then we move on to recapping of the Riddle and Omos feud. I guess this is fine. Nice little match. They go 2.5 minutes. Yes, 2.5 minutes for a guy as charismatic and talented as Riddle. But in the back, Riddle is witness to, as we all are, an Omos interview. He notes that he broke Riddle's scooter and then his spine. Riddle jumps Omos before the bell, tries to lock in a choke, but Omos breaks free. Bell rings and Riddle hits a series of shots. Omos takes back over and throws Riddle out of the ring. Omos then throws Riddle over the barricade. Riddle then barely beats the 10 count back in. Omos kicks Riddle off the apron, but Riddle goes back to the 10 count again. Riddle recovers, hits a series of knees, and then avoids Omos, but Omos recovers and rocks Riddle with a clothesline. Omos then hits a slam for the win, and Alexa and Lily talk about all the people Lily influenced, including Jack the Ripper, and why we're making a serial killer reference on a, um, on a show that's targeted at least partially to kids. I have no idea. Anyway, so then we go to um, finally, Bliss coming out, and Dewdrop jumps Bliss from behind. Eva picks up Lily, throws her on the ground, and runs away. Bliss rolls on the floor in pain, and then Lily then stood up after the heels left. Fans boo Lily standing, and well, anyway. Non-title Keith Lee defeats NXT champion Karrion Kross in 9:24. Why did we squash Lee last week only to have him go nearly 9.5 minutes with the NXT champion, a brand that Lee is not on this week, on a separate brand? Anyway, Lee and Kross have a decent enough match. Fans don't care about it most of the way. They do the 50-50 booking, which doesn't help anybody, including Kross or Lee. Fans did react to the finish because that's all that fans have been trained to react to these days. Earlier today, Kross has an hourglass and promised to defeat Keith Lee in a match. They recap Lee defeating Randy Orton last year at Payback. Geez, that felt like forever ago. They lock up. Lee backs Kross into a corner, and there's an NXT chant. And you got to remember, NXT is, let's put it this way, if you double Impact's numbers, you get NXT numbers. That'll tell you where NXT has gone over the last little while. Anyway, Kross gains control until Lee hits a series of shoulder tackles. Kross sends Lee over the top rope but lands on the apron. Lee then hits a slingshot crossbody for a near fall. Kross takes over and hits an exploder suplex, drags Lee to the floor, gives a suplex on the steps, and then back from the break, Kross is in control. Hits a clothesline for a near fall. Lee fights the back and boot to the face. Lee then hits a back elbow and headbutts Kross, follows up with double chops, and Lee rocks Kross shoulder tackle. Lee goes for the spirit bomb, doesn't get it. Fans come alive and break into a Keith Lee chant right near the end of the match. Lee breaks free and finally does hit the spirit bomb for the win. Reggie explained that he used Reginald and French accent to get his foot in the door. On commentary, Corey Graves is offended that Reggie bamboozled Carmella. And then we do the stupid 24/7 championship. Reggie defeating Akira Tozawa. Match was completely a waste of time, and Reggie avoids Tozawa with a backflip off the apron. Tozawa charges and hits the barricade. Reggie then runs in the ring, slips on the other side. Tozawa chases after him and hits his face on the bottom rope. Tozawa yells ninja power. With all the guys they've been getting rid of, why does Tozawa still have a job? Probably because it was hard enough to get a green card. They're trying to get as much out of him as they can before they let him go. Anyway, and then Reggie hits a flipping senton for the win. Nikki Ash promises to defeat Charlotte Flair and prove that anyone could be a superhero. So then the question becomes, if anyone can do it, then why would we care if anyone can? No holds barred match, championship contenders match, which I guess we stole from AEW. 14:35, decent enough match. Flair dominates Nikki early and controls her during the early part of the match. Nikki only has brief back and forths of offense. Flair takes over and then throws Nikki to the floor. Flair clears the announce table. Fans break into "We want a table" chant. Nikki fights back. Flair recovers. Flair pulls out a second table, props it up against the ring. They show Rhea Ripley watching in the back. Nikki gets suplexed several times on the floor, followed by a spear through the barricade to a decent reaction. Wire women in a non-major program doing spears through barricades. Back from the break, Nikki misses a flying crossbody and Flair hits a boot to the face. Flair then pins Nikki twice, but pulls her up each time. Fans go back to "We Want Tables" chant. Flair sends Nikki over the barricade and yells that nobody's cashing in on her again. Nikki attempts to crossbody off the barricade. Flair catches her and gives her a powerbomb through the announcer's table to a huge pop. So the table is more over than the wrestlers, it appears. Flair rolls Nikki into the ring, tries pinning her with one foot. Flair goes for the spear. Nikki moves. Flair crashes through the tables. Fans chant, "This is awesome." Nikki hits a twisting neckbreaker off the second rope for the win and celebrates her win as we go home. Literally, I got through that in about 20 minutes, and I think the 20 minutes I spent talking about it, I want at least half of it back. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.